My next guest today has won belts with all four major governing bodies, headline cards in Australia and the UK, been as high as number 5 in the world, an English-born Irishman, and now an adopted Aussie. And today he reaches a career high of being on the corner with Kamil Syed. Welcome, Darragh Foley, Darragh Super Foley.
There you go. Thank you very much, Kamil, and thanks for having me. And I'm sure we're going to touch on some interesting topics today.
Mate, we're in for a good one, that's for sure. So thank you for coming and taking out the time.
No problem.
Mate, let's get started fairly simply with your childhood. So long before you were Darragh Super Foley and all the accolades and things that you've achieved, take me back to your childhood when you were just Darragh Foley. If we were in school together, what were you like?
Angelic, studious.
So now what's the truth?
Take me back to the beginning, right? I was, so my parents are two Irish people. My mother's from Donegal, the north of Ireland. My father's from the South Kerry. They met and married in Dublin, kind of in the centre. Father was an engineer, mother was a nurse. During the 80s, at the end of the 80s, it was a recession, there was no work. So my father went off to England to find work. My sister was born in Dublin 2 years before me. Then my mother ended up getting pregnant with me in Ireland. And I guess the commute became a bit too much, so they decided to move over to England. So I was born in Ireland, right?
Yeah. You were born in
Sorry,
Ireland?
I was made in Ireland, but I was born in England.
Yeah, born in Kent, correct?
Kent,
Yes.
yeah. So had a good upbringing. It was good until, I'd say, about the age of 8. My father drank maybe a little bit too much and gambled, which is never a good combination. No. The nice little flat we were living in, we ended up having to move out of that and move into emergency kind of accommodation, which wasn't too good. No. I remember actually the first day this place in London called Penge. When we were getting off the train and we were walking up to the place we were staying, past these blocks of flats, and literally someone got stabbed right in front of me. I'm thinking, Jesus, little 7, 8-year-old, like, what are we moving into? Yeah. So that was kind of, I guess it was a bit of an eye-opener. That place was a bit of a shithole. Me and my little sister weren't even allowed to leave the flat at times. So my mother would be at work. My father would kind of, be coming and going because there's a bit of conflict with my mother all throughout that stage. So, at times I remember me and my older sister just up in the upstairs flat, and there'd be people trying to get into the door and all, and we're screaming, cowering, but it was good. Then we moved on to another area, and I think at that stage they were just saying, what are we doing over here? Why don't we just move back to Ireland? Yeah. Work had started to pick up in Ireland as well at that stage. So they moved back to Ireland when I was about 10 years old, 10, 11. In England as well, they had my youngest sister. Yeah. She's 4 years younger than me. So my older sister was born in Ireland. I was born in England, my sister's born in England. Then my younger brother's born in Ireland. Yeah. So it's
Are you very close with your siblings now? Or with your parents after obviously you had a bit of a difficult upbringing with the things that were going on at home? Yeah. Are you close with your family now, or is there still a bit of separation?
Nah, I've gone close to them the older I've got. Yep. Again, I wouldn't say it was difficult. I don't want to sound like it wasn't. Yeah. We had a good, happy childhood. It was just, there was always a bit of conflict with my two parents, and my father was out of the house a lot. My mother had to do a lot by herself. And we had to do a lot by ourselves. I remember when I was 8 years old, when we lived in Penge, I had to catch a train my mother would walk me every morning to the train station. I'd catch a train into central London, then another train out to, I can't even remember the trains, Petswood or somewhere. Yeah. And then I'd walk like 3 miles by myself to school. That was at 7, 8 years old. Wow. So I remember one time actually, one of the headmasters or something was driving by, and I had to hide behind the tree until she drove by, because obviously if she would have seen me, she said, what the hell are you doing?
On your own.
Walking along at that age. But I guess it teaches you to grow up fast and teaches you the skills which you need kind of in later life.
Yeah, well, you're independent from such a young age, so it's invaluable as you get older. And how did it come about for you coming to Australia? So you moved over here with your partner, well, your wife now, Lauren, correct? And how old were you when you came to Australia, and why Australia?
I was 23 years old. Lauren was 11. No,
So you're obviously
joking.
escaping.
Yeah, I was running away from something. No, I was 23. Lauren's 2.5 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So she just turned 21 actually.
Right.
I just wanted a different life. Like,
It's quite a big move to make at such a young age.
yeah, it is. But at that stage, it was a recession in Ireland. There wasn't that many jobs.
Yep.
It was easy to get a visa for Australia, and I had quite a few friends. It was becoming kind of a popular thing. So I'm looking at their Facebook news feed.
Yep.
They're down Bondi Beach. I'm looking outside. It's pissing rain every day of the week. It was kind of an easy decision to make.
Yeah.
And then when we left Ireland, we spent 3 months traveling through Southeast Asia, landed in Hong Kong, which was an eye-opener. Then went on to Thailand, Cambodia, Laos.
Yep.
And I was just doing a lot of thinking during that time. I was like, what do I want to be? I always knew I had the talent in boxing, but I'd never fully devoted myself, or I was very undisciplined.
Had you boxed as a child in the UK? Had
No,
you boxed? You hadn't boxed?
No. So I only started boxing when I was about 15 or 16 years old in Ireland, in Dublin. I remember, like, boxing in Ireland, the fighting Irish, I guess, it's what AFL or what rugby is to Australia. Everyone's boxed.
It's ingrained deep in the culture.
Gaelic football, soccer, or else boxing. And there's that demand for it. I remember the first time I went down to a boxing club, actually me and a couple of my friends had been in the park drinking. You used to get a little nagging of vodka, and you throw it in like a 1.5 bottle of Sprite or...
At 15?
At 15. Yeah, it's a drinking culture, mate.
Yeah.
And then we all got the great idea, let's join a fucking boxing club. You know, let's fucking full of Dutch courage probably. So we went down, and I don't know at the time if the guy could smell the drink off us or if he knew we were pissed, but he was like, oh, there's a waiting list. So we had to sign up for a waiting list, and I never heard back from him. So then about 2 months later, I went to a different club. There was no waiting list. Yep. I started training there. It was Phibsborough Boxing Club. I was there for a few years. Then I moved to CIE in Chicago, which is where I'd say that's where I developed into a boxer. Okay. At the time, it was run by a guy, Peter Perry, who was notorious in the Irish boxing circles. 18 Irish champions, as he'd never be shy about telling anyone. And he was a larger-than-life character, you know. Yeah. And at that stage, I hadn't even had a fight, but I used to remember anyone that would walk into the gym, see that guy over there, he'll be world champion one day. And I'd be so embarrassed thinking, fuck, I haven't even had a fight and this guy's singing me praises. But I guess Peter always saw something in me and just filled me with confidence, just really gave me that wind beneath me wings that I needed. But as an amateur, I mean, I was nondescript. I never won anything.
What did you have, about 10 fights? Was that correct?
11 fights. Yeah. 11 fights, I think, maybe. Yeah. Give or take a couple. But I only won one fight. One fight as an amateur is all I won.
Out of your 11, you only won one?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
But I never lost a first round. I was never down after the first round, but it was always the lack of discipline, the lack of not really training, of never running. And it's funny now because now I'm a great runner, as you probably know yourself. I don't.
Like Forrest Gump, mate. You just don't stop.
Well, I wouldn't say I was going for Usain Bolt or something, but and I guess that's always because I had lost so many fights through lack of fitness, and even the coaches. Then after Peter passed away, I moved on to a couple of different clubs, St. Saviour's Olympic Boxing Academy, St. Matthew's in Ballyfermot, and the coaches would always be saying, what are you doing? Like, you were up after that first round, you just threw it all away. And you think that would kind of snap me into gear, into thinking, why don't I just go out and run and, you know, train proper and be diligent and be a disciple of this game like all the other guys that have beaten me come the second and third round. And so that always kind of, you know, irked me, I guess. It was always a thorn on my side. No, and fuck, I could have done.
You weren't losing because of you weren't good enough. You were losing because you weren't trying.
Yeah. And that's the worst way to lose, because I guess in boxing, if someone's naturally a bigger punch than you, yeah, you can do all the S&C, but they're probably always going to be a natural puncher. Same with speed, same with, you know, all the different facets in boxing. But fitness, that's a level playing field.
Yeah.
You can't say, oh, that guy is naturally fitter than me. That guy was born with great fitness. No, he wasn't. Fitness is the sum of, you know, what you put in, effort and hard work and discipline equals fitness, you know? What you put in, you get out. So that kind of always irked me. And the older I got, I was thinking, like, back in Ireland, I had every job under the sun. I was an apprentice electrician for 2 years. That didn't go too well. I wasn't obviously great at taking direction or orders off someone that was in the same position as me 3 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
Then they're fully qualified, not go get that. Like, why don't you get it?
Yeah.
Because when I was your age, I had to get it. Like, bro, you're 3 years older than me. You go get it. I'm on the ladder as well. Why do I have to go down and get it? You go down and get it.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, there was always a bit of conflict there. What else? I was a salesman. I was a letting negotiator.
Salesman, I could see. I could see that you were successful at that. You promoted so many of your fights, so...
I was, actually. I used to stand beside a car in Dublin Airport, an Aston Martin and a Range Rover. And anyone that would walk by, you'd need to say, hey, do you want to win one of these? Or just something stupid, just throw a ball at them.
Yeah.
They were walking up to the catch. Oh, hey, you want that Range Rover? I can arrange to get it. Where you going? Italy. Yeah, I'll get it shipped over there tomorrow. How? Oh, come over here, have a look. And we used to have this, like, spot the ball competition on the iPad.
Yeah.
And whoever got closer would win it. But obviously there was about freaking 5 billion different pixels on it, so I don't know, was it ever a scam or what, but I never sold a winning ticket anyway. You get a nice little windfall if you do, but I was never lucky enough.
Yeah.
I was a let negotiator. I used to rent out houses and apartments.
Okay.
So I had all these jobs, but I was never really happy
Yep.
with any of them, man. I guess when I had that 3 months going through Southeast Asia, I was kind of like, what do I want to be remembered as? Like, what do I... Like,
what did you see in Southeast Asia? Because obviously there's a lot of poverty there. Did that hit you quite hard?
Yeah, I guess.
Lack of opportunity for Southeast Asians.
Yeah, that I guess you could look at it in that sense. More than anything, it just gives you the time to relax, reflect. You're not waking up. There's no to-do list. You're just getting up, what will I do down by the beach? You have a lot of time to think about where you want to go in life. Probably like that as well. There's no opportunity over there for people. So, not trying to sound like a freaking humanitarian or not Mother Teresa, but I guess if seeing that poverty, thinking, fuck, imagine I get in a position one day to be able to help these people or any people, or be able to make my mark kind of on life a bit more than I have selling tickets to win a freaking Aston Martin at Dublin Airport, you know? So,
so you came to Australia at 23?
I came to Australia at 23. Yeah, I'd already made the decision when I was traveling. I was like, I'm gonna give that a crack. My first ever tattoo, actually, I got done in PP. It says "No Fear" on my hand.
Yeah.
It's a bit faded now.
Yeah.
And I got that done, and that was kind of the turning point. I was like, well, no backing away now, no fear. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this head on, and that's in me stance, and it's always looking back at me.
Yeah. Well, it's evident in the way you fight, especially in your first few early fights. It was go for broke.
Yeah.
There was no self-preservation, which a lot of fighters do. You get in there, I don't want to get hit, don't want to get hurt. You had no fear, and you had a lack of self-preservation. So that brings me to, I wanted to talk about one of your hardest fights, I felt, was Kitty and Darragh. So I'd like to show you something, if that's all right. And just as we go through, I'd just like you to hold that and press play on that, please. I'd love to get your reaction.
Whoa. Just as well we didn't show the other 5 rounds. So I'm looking for that overhand right. I've set it up twice. Fake the body, boom, good night.
So what a lot of people don't know is you were losing that fight on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards.
Yeah.
You're naturally a southpaw. Southpaw's not working for you. And then you switch to orthodox.
Yeah.
Feint to the body, overhand right. Talk me through a little bit of that fight. How difficult was that, and how much of a turning point was that, especially against a youth world champion like Kitty and Darragh? He's a serious pedigree.
Well, what a lot of people don't know is when I started boxing, I was orthodox the whole way up until I was about 21. But I used to always love, like, Nazim Muhammad was my favourite boxer. Pernell Whitaker, all the Zab Judah. That he copied super off me, obviously,
Yeah.
even though I went after him. And I guess I always loved southpaws, just that angle. So I actually remembered it the first time I was in the gym and I was like, I wanna try transition a bit, or at least switch.
Yeah.
So I was standing from the gym, and as most people do when they switch stance, if you're
Square up.
orthodox, this your strong hand. As soon as you turn this way, you have a strong right hook,
Yep.
you have a strong jab, but this ain't nothing because it's just so used to being out straight here or going here. It's a different dynamic. So I remember standing in front of that bag, I was like, whoa, geez, that feels all right. Then I went to throw this and I was like, just a little loop in, warm or something going out. And I remember standing over and over, boom, just trying to get that technique. I was working on it for weeks and weeks. And then I remember I actually watched the interview with Robin Reid, the ex-WBC super middleweight world champion, English guy. And he once said he had a massive right hand. And he said that the way he threw his right hand was like, if you have a little axe, you know, like a little throwing axe.
Yeah.
And just, boom, you really twist that shoulder down. And I kept trying it and it just worked. One day it just clicked. From being able at the age of 21, I'm not about when I was 11 doing this, 21, to turn into my greatest weapon now, that straight left hand. So, sorry, I digressed there a little bit.
You're right,
What was
a little
the
bit.
question?
So how was obviously that fight? Because you were getting beaten up, not beaten up, but
Yeah.
you were behind on the scorecards. And if you have seen the photo after, your face, we'll show it on the camera, but your face is fairly swollen.
Yeah, it was. So the fight wasn't going my way. I went over to Miami before that to do a training camp with Pedro Diaz, and he was teaching me one way of boxing. I was with Tony at the other stage and kind of doing my own thing there. So, and he had I don't know, maybe I underestimated him a little bit because I was so high in confidence after being over there training with Rigondeaux every day and all these other great world champions. Then I come back and it just didn't work for me. One of them nights you go into the office and say if you're a salesperson, you just can't pick up the phone or you can't. That night it just didn't work for me. Nothing would work. He was faster than I thought he was.
Yep.
There were so many head clashes, and in the end I couldn't actually see out of one of my eyes. So I had to revert back to sort, turn orthodox, and like that they were saying in the corner, you're down the scorecard, you just got to go for it. And when I'm in that position, there's no better man just to go for it than me because I let it all hang out. And I guess I just knew you're not beating me tonight. I don't care. You may be outboxing me, but this fight's finishing with me on top and you below. And that I just went for broke and started releasing them big right hands. And
Yep. And good night, Irene.
good night, Irene, as we've seen.
Well, I'm not sure if it's after that Kitty and Darragh fight or before, but there's obviously a famous incident with the Cambosis fight that you wanted or you guys chased that never happened, never materialized. Where was it before or after you threw nappies at him in the ring? Before the fight or after the fight you threw nappies at him?
After the fight.
After the fight.
Come on, mate, I'm not that disrespectful.
You threw nappies at him.
Yeah.
Why did that fight never materialize?
So I was in Australia at the time when I was coming up. The lightweight division was hot. The junior welterweight, there really wasn't anyone else in that division, whereas the lightweight division was hot. There was names like Val Borg, Sydney-based. There was names like George Cambosis. So I always kind of made weight quite easy. And I was thinking, what is it, 61.2 kilos? I'm now at 63 and a half. That's only 2.2 kilos. You think it's nothing, you're young, you're inexperienced. So I said, I'm going to move down to the lightweight division. I want to chase these big fights. The first time I made weight, I think was against, I think it was a catchweight maybe against Mick Mlakic. Then I fought Val Borg at the limit. I felt good. Then I fought Miles Zalewski, who was Australian champion. And that should have been alarm bells for me. I went up there. It was horrible.
You staked your purse too, didn't you?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, so I went up there and I remember I woke up, so the lightweight limit is 61.2. I think I woke up at 61.7. So I had an apple that day, nothing on the plane. And my scales were on point, nothing on the plane. Got there to do the weight cut. I said, I had an apple. I should be about 61.5, man, doing walking around all day. I Oh, sorry, an extra kilo because still had to do with a weight cut. So 62.7, so 1.5 kilos, which would be normal. I end up getting up there anyway, and I jump on the scales in the gym where I'm trying to lose. As a sauna there, I'm like 63 kilos. Like, what the hell? How? I'm at eating an apple all day, walking around, nothing else. So to make that weight was absolutely horrible. I went to the actual weighing. I knew I was over. I said, I'll do a check weight before we get on. I was weighing like 61.6. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do here?
Yeah.
So at the time, Angelo DeCarlo, was his show as well. I said, look, I'm over. Can I go and make weight? He said, no, you have to wait for the official weigh-in, way over. And then you have 90 minutes or 60 minutes, however long to lose it. And I'm thinking, why? I told you I'm over. Like,
yeah.
So I had to wait half an hour, malnourished, starving. My mouth was as dry as Mahatma Gandhi's left sandal. It was bad. But weighed in, I'm over. Oh, great, I'm over. What do I do now? Oh, well, you can sit in my car outside. I'll give you the keys and put the warm air conditioning on. So I'm sitting out there, nothing's happening. Thankfully, one of the guys, the owner of Eastside Boxing, says, listen, I live up the road in an apartment complex. I have a sauna. There's the keys, go use it. So I went up there, up to the sauna, sat in it for about 15 minutes, came back. I think I had to strip naked as well, barely made weight. So that alone should have been alarm bells ringing.
Bells.
You can't go down to the well anymore.
No. Then why did you chase Cambosis at that weight if you knew that you were struggling to make the weight?
Because long before I turned professional at the age of 23, not 17, not 18 like Lundy's. I've been a boxing fan my whole life.
Yeah.
Studious. I could name every single, there's 4 sanctioning belts. I'm pretty sure if we go from flyweight up to heavyweight, I'll be able to name 3 of them every weight. I know boxing. I know it in depth. I watch it every weekend. So I was a fan before anything, and what the fans want, you want to see good fights.
Yep.
So I've always had that mindset. It's never really been like, say, a business side. I'm doing this. I just want to give. I want to leave a legacy. I want to be a fan watching. I like that guy. I want to be a fan fighter.
Yeah.
I want to be a guy who, when I was 19, 20, would follow me. You understand?
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to go down. It was a big fight at the time. We'd started talking up. There was a bit of heat between the two of us. There was bars being thrown about, and I thought I'd beaten them. Back then, if you ask me, every fighter's going to say it, but I feel I would have beaten.
Was there an offer given? Was there ever an offer either way, given or received?
No. Just in that video you speak of when we went into the ring, the guy held the big check up. Oh, winner gets this, and then the other one, the loser gets this. That was the only thing that was ever kind of materialised. Obviously, I went to shake his hand. He didn't reciprocate. As I think Bensava said after, he has got gloves on.
Yeah.
But
what's your relationship with him like now? No more throwing nappies?
no more nappies. I'll tell you a funny story. It's funny. We actually train in the same gym now to get our ethos doing our strength and conditioning. So after I left Tony, I was, kind of scouting different gyms, and we'd been at loggerheads. I hadn't seen him since this whole internet storm, and 2 of us chatting shit about each other, and I'll do this and I'll do that. I'd since moved back up to junior lightweight, my natural weight, and he was at lightweight. And I was training down at Gary St. Clair's gym. And I remember one time after training, I was putting my boots on, and I feel like a tap on my shoulder. And before I can even look around, there's a hand down with tattoos on it. What the fuck? And I spin around the team. All right, mate, what's happening? And I didn't know what way to take this. I'm like, because bear in mind, I haven't seen this guy since all this stuff. So I'm a little bit, all right, yeah. Oh, when are you fighting next? And all this, and I'm like, kind of a bit cold, because I'm like, what the fuck are we gonna, is it on Syed? What's happening here? And I just left the gym then, and it didn't really make much small talk. And as I'm driving home, I was thinking about the whole thing, and I'm like, what it would have took for him to come over and offer his hand to me after all that. He's a bigger man than I, because I wouldn't have been able to do that. If I would have, or maybe that's just my personality, if I would have seen him in the gym, I would have at least had to say, yo, remember that stuff you were saying? What about it now? What about it? But he came straight over, offered his hand, saying that's a sign of a real man. Then I seen him about a week later, and I said to him, respect you for offering your hand to me, and whatever happened, I guess, is water under the bridge. It's like, yeah, that was years ago, no problem. It's just business. And I think that mindset with Cambosis, it always has been business. He's had his father on his back, looking after everything, being able to, it's always been business. And now looking back on his career, they have navigated him perfectly to where he is now, the number one in the division.
Yeah.
Whereas I think I set off a bit like that wild child on a fucking Harley to, I'm going through everyone, bomb, and they were kind of a bit more wheeling and dealing. Maybe that's why that fight didn't happen between the two of us at that stage. But I guess the long game played off for them, and they are where they are, and fair playing. We've a good relationship now. We chatting on. I wish him all the best.
And if we move on to, you've beaten Kitty and Darragh, Cambosis hasn't happened. You've beaten Steve Wilcox in one of probably arguably your best performance, where you've unified 2 regional titles. You're at number 5 in the world at this stage. And then within, I think, about 2 fights, or about a 3-fight period, no, it'd be a little bit longer, sorry, you lose to Akeem Ennis-Brown. So you lose your ranking and your belts.
Yeah.
You have 2 get-back fights, I believe, and then you lose to Tyrone McKenna. Both were headlined over in the UK. Talk me through those losses, because I remember, I'll never forget this, at the gym, because you've got such an extroverted personality, you have the ability to lift the gym or bring the gym down on your mood. And I'll never forget, after the Akeem Ennis-Brown fight, it was the most depressed I've ever seen a fighter after a loss. And it's understandable. You've lost your rankings, your belts, everything you've worked for. So how did you take that loss? Both of them. How did you come back, and how did you deal with it?
I guess, yeah, you're right. It is devastating. Look, boxing is an unforgiving sport. You never, it takes so much from you and gives little in return. And I guess that's why I always strive to win and for greatness. Like when I win, you feel good, you feel elated, but I hate losing more than I love winning, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's I fucking hate losing, man. I really hate losing. Akeem Ennis-Brown, first, he was number 5 in the world. I got approached. I was already over in Boston at that stage.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be fighting in 7 weeks' time. We hadn't got any opponent. We hadn't got any opponent, but just get into camp. This is your day. Yeah. I think it was the 16th of December. No, that was Ty Telford. It was around 18th December. Bethnal Green, your call. Mm-hmm. Just get over to Boston, be in camp and be ready. I remember the day, 2 days before I was meant to go to Boston, I ended up tearing my pec minor. So it was literally so touch and go. I had to go get an MRI. Then I'm in the airport the next day waiting on results. Tom, my man from Sports Lab that had been behind me since the start of my career, legends, he's like, keep your phone on, I'll ring you in the airport. So I'm literally in the airport, like, what do I do? Will I check in? He's like, yeah, just check in. And so I'm like, so I'm sitting there in the check-in hall, he rings me, I'm like, yo, what's up? He goes, I've good and bad news. It's like, oh, don't start this. What you want first? Like, anything, I'm about to get on a plane, what? It's like, right, the good news is, you've only tore your pec minor. Is that okay? What's the bad news? The bad news is you won't be able to spar or kind of use it aggressively for about 3-4 weeks till it settles down. It's like, so do I get on the flight? He's like, yeah, go for it, mate. It's like, right, no worries. So I couldn't even pick up me luggage at that stage. Not to make excuses, and obviously it's not an excuse, because if it was, I would have talked about this a week after the fight. It's long and buried, that fight 2 years ago, but I'm just telling you the backstory of what actually did happen. So I only got about 2 weeks sparring over there, 3 weeks sparring. I flew back to Ireland the week prior to it. I was best man at my mate's wedding. I remember I was on the red-eye flight from Boston. I got in, so it took off midnight in Boston. I got back to Dublin Airport 7 a.m. The wedding was at 1 a.m. This is the Saturday before. So I didn't sleep for about 24 hours. Obviously at a wedding, you're eating food you kind of shouldn't really be eating. I went back away myself. So Monday of fight week, I was like 70 kilos. I'm like, oh, here we go again. So making weight was, it was very hard to make weight. I was tight at the weight. I was fighting for the IBF European title as well. So you got to do a second day weigh-in where you can only be 10 pounds above your weight. So I weighed in at 140 pounds. So the next day at 8 a.m., I needed to re-weigh at 150. And usually I'd never go over that, but just because of the scenario, the whole training camp was a bit up and down. I was sitting heavy at the weight. And I remember, so I woke up the next day, Dottie, me S&C coach, was ringing me. Are you up? I'm like, I'm just after waking up now. Weigh yourself. Stay on the phone. So I put my loudspeaker, go in, 154 pounds. I'm like, shit, I can only be 150 pounds. This is a funny story, actually. So I'm like, what will I do? He goes, just quick, have a hot shower, see what you can do. Had a hot shower, had a piss, 153 pounds. I'm like, fuck. We're just gonna have to go down and wing it. So we walked downstairs. They're already in the corridor into the hotel room where the IBF officials are weighing.
Yeah.
I think he's weighed in at 146 or something. So I see his coach and I standing outside a couple of team members. I'm walking down. Say to the IBF official, sorry, I'm just after waking up. I don't even know what I'm weighing. I presume I'm under. No, when I'm over, I hop on the scales. On there, when I'm like 152.9 or something. Oh, I'm just awake. I'll have a shit and a piss and I'll be back down in 10 minutes. And they say, oh, no, it's okay. You have 45 minutes or whatever. So we're like, yeah, come on, Dottie. We go back upstairs, walk. And as soon as we turn the corner, boom, sprint straight upstairs, a hot bath. Had to sit in a hot bath for about 25 minutes. No, about 20 minutes to get the weight off because it come off fast enough. Come back downstairs. But obviously the whole delay of everything, as I'm going back downstairs, I'm still sweating because I've literally got out of the hot bath, put my clothes back on. And I remember his coach in the hallway says to me as I'm walking by, he had a little smile on his face, and obviously it's a corridor, we're very close. He said, how's that shit, mate? I was like, yeah, it's fine. Then as I walked into the bathroom, you can see there's beads of sweat on my forehead. I'm like, fuck, he knew. Walking back out, he had a little smile on his face. I got on, weighed 148, straight back up. So that's not ideal. You don't want to be cutting that much weight on fight day. And look, Akeem's a great fighter. He outpointed me.
He's so awkward.
Yeah,
Very, very difficult.
Awkward as hell.
Yeah.
Looking back, I mean, I was number 5 in the world. Why did I take that fight?
Yeah.
Why was that fight put to me? It was stupid. I should have solidified my my position. But again, that's me. I'll fight anyone. And sometimes I need people to pull me back because boxing, as I've noticed, it's not boom. It's snakes and ladders. You got to fight this guy, good style matchup to get to this guy. You can't just go through everyone. No one can do that. So yeah, and I only learned after when. So I went back to the hotel, obviously absolutely devastated. There's different coaches from different gyms coming there saying, why did you fight that guy? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, nobody wants to touch him in the UK. Nobody even wants to spar him. He's that slippery. He's a horrible style. You're number 5 in the world and you go fighting him. Again, if I was good enough, I would have bet him. I think if we had a rematch, I would beat him.
Yeah.
I definitely would beat him because now I know that style. Step, boom, counter, boom, boom. Whereas at the time I was a bit gung-ho, and fair play to him, he bet me. And again, not taking anything away from him, he's went on to do great things.
Yeah.
He lost his last fight controversially against another undefeated fighter. He shouldn't have.
No, I thought he won that against Sam Maxwell.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 90% of people did.
Yep.
So he's a good fighter. Came back, had 2 wins, like you said.
Yep.
Then I went into McKenna fight. That was one I could really get my teeth into. Was the Battle of Ireland. McKenna's Belfast, I'm Dublin. And it was a fight I was really, really up for. Went back over to Boston, was training with Hector Bermudez. Had a good camp over there. Went back and it was a great fight. It was a great fight between the two of us.
Absolute war. I felt like in that fight, the first 5 rounds, I felt like you were ahead, but probably about 3-2.
Yeah.
It's quite close. And then the second half of the fight, he started to impose himself a lot more on you. I can't even work out stylistically how he did it, because for a tall man with long reach, he likes to get in close.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, how did you start to lose rounds? What did you technically do wrong?
With the McKenna fight, again, I'm not stupid. I knew I was fighting a Belfast man in Belfast. They weren't going to give me the decision, as was evident on the scorecards at the end. I think 2 judges gave me 1 round. And even with the knockdown in the 8th or 9th round, I tripped over his foot and the ref counts it straight away. Okay, I see what's going on here. But I knew this all along. So my game plan was just put it on this man and get him out here. If it goes the distance, you lose.
Yeah.
So that's why I started ultra aggressive. And similar way King Menace Brown, I'm fighting him in his back garden.
You got to go take it.
You got to go take it off the man. So I was ultra aggressive in that fight, pushing McKenna back. I think I hurt him in the second round with a body shot. And yeah, like, again, that's not really my style to be that aggressive, but I just felt I had to in these fights because it's not a level playing field, you know. You're already a couple of points behind.
Yeah, of course.
Then I think, so, like, it was a very close fight, I'm always my own worst critic, and I had it 5 rounds apiece. Then if you take in the referee ruled it a knockdown, you got to take that into account. Okay, 6-4. But what do you go for? Do you go for volume, McKenna, bomb, bomb, bomb? Do you go for velocity? It was a great learning fight, and I'm proud to have fought on Irish soil. Again, I would love that fight again.
Yeah.
If it ever did eventuate, Tyrone's went on to do great things.
Incredible things.
He's a big fight coming up next against Prograis. I hope he wins. And he's a good man as well, and we could fight 100 times. It's always going to be a barn burner, you know?
Well, after that loss, obviously not long after that loss, the pandemic happened, correct? Where you changed gyms, new trainer, Bensava.
Yeah.
Pandemic happens. Just before the pandemic, you're scheduled to fight Fazladin, the Uzbekistani Olympic gold medalist, in Kazakhstan, correct? Yeah. And obviously you're getting ready for that, new gym, and then the pandemic happens, everything hits. How did you take that? Because it's so difficult when you're preparing for a fight to all of a sudden the whole world shuts down. You're a prize fighter, you've got no money, you've got no income coming in, you've got no purpose, the gyms are closed, you can't do PTs, you can't earn money.
Yeah.
How did you take that mentally? It's a big hit.
Yeah, it was very tough, that fight with I'll call him Fazzy because I don't want to disrespect the way I mentioned his name wrong. He was an Olympic gold medalist Uzbekistan. It was going to be held in Kazakhstan, neighbouring countries. 6,000 people in front of a fucking indoor ice hockey arena or something. Man, when I say, when ever get that, you're on it when it feels like there's electricity pulsating through your veins. I was going up against it. It would have been me and probably 10 people against all these mad Kazakhs. I was living for this moment. I trained, it was a very short camp. I only got back from honeymoon in Colombia. I've been away for 4 weeks, then about 6 weeks to train, but I was on it. 8 rounds, no problem. A week before that fight, the pandemic hit, just when I think I was meant to get my flights on Saturday, we'd worked out what times and dates and all it worked. Then the pandemic hit. And initially, obviously, you're upset because you don't know, like, they're saying, well, you could be rescheduled for next month. You don't know what's going to happen. So it wasn't initially that shock. I'm like, oh, I may still be fighting in a month's time. I didn't know this fucking thing was going to go on for 2 years. And yeah, then the longer it got on, the harder it was when you could kind of see the pattern. Like you said, you can't work, you're living off government handouts.
Yeah.
And that, more than anything, it's a proud fighting man. I'll fight for what I'm giving, I'll fight for my money. All of it, suddenly you're fighting on you're receiving the minimum government wage because you can't do what you love.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of I'm in the peak of my career.
Yeah.
31 years old. I should be out here fighting. I've had to sit on the sidelines for more or less 2 years whilst my peak goes by, you know, and it's a short career. It's not like, say a gym owner, you're still going to be here in 20, 30, 40 years time, you know. But I'm going to be gone in about 2-3 years time. So that was tough for me to take. What
was the point where you spoke to your partner and said, I'm struggling? What was that point? Where you're like, obviously as a proud Irishman, proud man in general, it's hard to talk about these things. What was that point where you spoke to Lauren and said, I'm struggling?
I don't know if it was just it was. I don't know if it was ever kind of just a one conversation. It was kind of, she could obviously sense that everything I live for is being taken from me, you know. And it was hard, and there was numerous conversations. And I guess the one thing that even in that, like anyone else, why would you not just stop and get a job in
course.
construction or do whatever?
It's easy.
It's easy, it is. But I knew if I took the easy way out, I'd never come back. You get used to it, you get comfortable, you go for a beer after work with the lads. Before you know it, you're out here and you're, you know what I mean? You get used to your little comfortable lifestyle where you're a little comfortable after work beers and you live for your Sundays when you're off work. But I knew if I had taken the easy way out, I'd never get back to here to being on the cusp of great things again. And I just had to stay devout, had to believe in myself, even in times when no one did. Like, why would you? Like, my career's sitting out. I just had to say, hey, just get over this. Like in a tough fight, you've had a bad round, you've had a bad 2 rounds. Get through this, and the sun will shine again.
And you found that sun. It came through in the Ty Telford fight.
Yeah.
Which was what I think Jeff Fennick called it the fight of the decade. It won round of the year. The build-up was unbelievable. Talk us through that build-up. It's infamous, it's notorious, everyone knows about it. You're down at Bondi Beach, you've got the microphone, and was that the first time you felt you really got into his head?
Yeah.
And his trainer's head?
Yeah, I think so, because we was down at Bondi Beach for the public workout, and his, who was it that came out? Ben Damon or maybe Matt Rose said, come over, I'd like you to have a couple of words on the microphone. It's a sunny day, you know, we're down the beach, I'm gonna have a bit of fun. So they're throwing all combinations and I was just like, nah, no, nada, that ain't gonna land. Then all of a sudden I see him like missing the pads, his hand sliding off his pads, his coach is looking at me instead of his box. I'm like, shit, I'm under these blokes' skin. I wasn't even trying, just from saying a couple of words. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna play on that. And then it just escalated and eventuated a little bit. And it was just a bit of fun. You know, I knew I was where I wanted to be without even trying. I didn't even make a conscious effort, but then that kind of carried through onto the weigh-in.
Yeah.
There was the weigh-in. It was quite, you know, electric. Then the fight as well, obviously.
Speaking of the electricity in the fight and the weigh-in and the pre-lead up.
We got the iPad again. Let's
mate,
go.
We do. We've got something I'd like to show you. This is a key moment, I believe, in the fight. I'd love you to just have a look at that. I'd love to get your response to that. Obviously, it's on mute.
Right, here we go. Left uppercut roll on that. Nudge him away. Nice right hand. Follows up with a barrage. Oh, what? What's happened here? No knockdown. There we go. Jump back up under the feet. 6, 7. Are you really counting me, mate? Oh, okay. It's like this. It's like this again. I've been in this position a couple of times.
Just
Boom.
slide across.
Round goes.
That's round 8. You've been knocked through the ropes.
Yeah.
And this is round 10.
You're not beating me tonight. You are not beating me tonight. This is the guy who he said was so strong, and he was. He's a strong, physically strong individual who goes around all the gyms doing 15 rounds, sparring Timzu, all these guys, and he's strong as they come, but he's not strong as me, and I'm about to show it right now. This is a 10th round, digging deep. Do we go again?
No, that's just what I wanted to show you. You've been
Yeah.
knocked through the ropes in the 8th.
Yeah.
In the 9th and the 10th, you show what you're made of, that typical Irish fighting style. I'm not going out a loser tonight. I'm going to give this everything I've got. What's going through your mind in that knockdown and in the final stages of that fight? Because a lot of how we fight translates to how we live our life.
True.
Especially as fighters. So I'd like that to be a lesson for people out there who watch this, that you can be knocked down, knocked through the ropes in a hard fight, and you can still come home strong and win the fight against the odds.
Yeah, most definitely. With that knockdown again, so I remember when I made my way into the ring, Adam Waugh, who was one of my cornermen that night, said, just be weary, bounce off these ropes, they're very loose. And he was saying something to someone ringside as if they're going to be able to tighten them there and then. But he said, just be wary, these ropes are loose. Obviously, in the heat of battle, it goes out of your mind. But I think Ty caught me with a right hand in the centre of the ring, kind of went back a little bit, followed up with a barrage. I went to lean on the ropes. The ropes gave way and I fell onto the...
The referee's trying to catch you.
Yeah, the referee. The ref basically caught me and helped me back into the ring. And as you can see, I jumped straight back to my feet. So I don't think... I don't know if it's up to the judges ringside if they want to give it as an official knockdown or not. So I don't know if they did or if they didn't. But especially after that, I'm thinking, okay, that's a 10-8 round. I gotta go. I get back to the corner. I get a bollock and they're saying, hey, what are you doing? You're blowing this. You want to pull this out now, son? I didn't need much encouragement anyway. So I just went out and let it all hang out, and the killer be killed. That's the way I always fight, and I was gonna bring that guy to hell. Anytime I step into the ring, that's my mindset. I'm going to hell tonight, and you can either come there with me or you can get off this train, because I'm not. I'm gonna go there, and I guess through the experience of going there before, it's kind of comfortable. You can kind of find solace when you're in that heat of the battle. There's blood pumping out your face, your body's pulsating. It's weird, but you when you've been there so many times, it's not unusual anymore. It can be overwhelming and certainly scary if you ain't felt that before. When you've been there, it's kind of, okay, here I am again. Just get through it. Soon it will all be over. And that's one lesson I guess you gotta carry very close to you in a fight. Soon it's gonna be over. If you get hurt 20 seconds into a round, there's 2.5 minutes left here, over. What am I gonna do? Soon it'll all be over. You're gonna have your minute break. What's a fight? 45 minutes, including the 1 minute rounds. Soon it will all be over. Then you'll be feeling fine. You probably know yourself in the spar after 6 rounds. Oh, you're doing one more today. I can't. You do it. 2 minutes later, you're out walking around having a drink.
Yeah.
And I guess that the parallel to that is in life. If for any young people in that, you're going through hard times, they'll blow over. Then you'll be feeling great again. Soon it will all be over. Even life itself.
Yeah.
We're only here for a while. Soon it will all be over. Just get through it. Just get through it. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. And if you believe in yourself, your fitness, your heart,
yeah,
what's there to fear?
Yeah, that's true. As you said, it will all be over. Things don't last forever. Nothing is temporary.
Yeah.
No, sorry, nothing
Permanent.
is permanent. Things are temporary. Also in that fight, at the end of it, so you've gone through hell and back. The lead-up's been incredible. The fight's been incredible. At the end of it, you can see Telford's exhausted and he's just been through hell, as you described, and he's like, what the hell is this? Whereas you're still looking into the camera saying, I thought that was a 12-rounder. Give me back those 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Is that the showman coming out in you, or is that just ingrained in you so much?
I guess it's a bit of both. It's a bit the showman. You stick a camera on me and I always like to arc up a little bit. I knew I should have been an actor or something, eh? Maybe in my next life.
Yeah.
Once this boxing game finishes. No, but I meant it as well. But I finished it at 10th round. And if there had been another 2 rounds, I don't think it would have went the distance. So I was on it. I was.
You believe you would have stopped him?
I believe I would have, yeah. I believe if there was another 20 seconds in that 10th round, I would have. Not to take nothing away from the guy, because he is tough as teak. But I was pouring it on, and I would have gotten out of there. But yeah, that's like, it's a beautiful thing as well. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's so fucking hard when you're in there and you're grinding and you're pushing and you're just finding more of yourself and more and more and more. You're giving it everything you have and more and more. It just keeps coming. You don't know from where now, more. And you can't give more, but more is there. It's a beautiful thing. Just being able to keep going, keep pushing, keep going, just get through it. And they can't, and you see they can't. And then you get more again from them, because you see them just giving everything they have. It's beautiful. I want to fight right now.
Yeah, well, we might leave that for later. With that fight, I also wanted to discuss how that was your first fight under Bensava, correct?
Yeah.
What has Ben brought to you? How has he changed you or adapted you? Because you were former sparring partners.
Yeah.
He's about the similar age as you. He had about about a dozen pros.
Yeah.
Been fairly successful. And then for you to transition from another gym to Ben, how does that relationship dynamic play out? Because he is the same age.
Yeah.
And
it's good in the sense there's no, like, I don't look at Ben and say, oh, he's the same age as me. What possibly more could he know than I know?
Yeah.
He's had half the amount of fights of. It's not about that. Ben's he puts so much into boxing. He studies it so much, and he's a great trainer. I feel there's a synergy between the two of us in the sense, like you said, we sparred so many hundreds of rounds with each other. He he knows me closer than any coach could because he shared the ring with me. I trust him, he trusts me, and I'm excited and looking forward to what we still have to give and show for the last chapter of my career. And the rewards that we're going to reap also. You know, we've been working non-stop, as you very well know, for the past 2 years in the shadows throughout all this coronavirus, you know. I've been training like of a fight coming up, even though I don't. So I'm looking forward to when I'm back under them lights and all the work I've done in the shadows come to light. And I think it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, of course it will be. And that's one thing I've noticed with Ben. He's a tough taskmaster. He sets a high standard. It's either meet this standard or don't waste my time, which is the way it should be with a coach.
Yeah.
So if I can just get back to the Ty Telford fight.
Yeah.
In the aftermath, we've spoken about this off camera, obviously. You received a lot of Instagram messages from people.
Yeah.
What was some of the most prominent messages that you received that really hit home hard?
So yeah, it was crazy. It literally blew up. As Jeff Fennick said, it was a fight of the decade, fight of the year, round of the year. And the next day after that, we were going camping. Me, my missus and friends of ours up to Queensland, and the borders were going to shut due to COVID. So we had to go for the 12-hour steam straight to Surfers Paradise over the borders. And it was great because it allowed me a bit of time just to reset, and I'm literally going through hundreds and hundreds of messages on my Instagram of all these people writing in, and it was good, mate. That 12-hour drive seemed like 2 hours. I'm sitting going back, no way, it really lifted your sails, and the bruises all out. I can't even move my back stat sore and falling on top of the desk, but it just kind of warmed your heart, you know. There was one message in particular from some guy saying that he had lost his daughter, his 2-year-old child, that year, and he'd been struggling so hard. But the heart that I showed in that ring last night, I've goosebumps even speaking about this, because to think that I can have such an effect on someone just by doing something I love is crazy. He was saying that the heart I showed in that ring last night makes him continue going in life and thinking that he'll get through it as well. And I was thinking, that's crazy, man. That's crazy that me just in there battling away, just doing what I do, doing what I can do, reaching down that far can have that influence and that effect on people, you know?
Yeah.
So that was really touching. Yeah.
No, that's incredible that what you've done inside the ring has impacted someone else that you've never met outside the ring.
Yeah.
And I think that's something people don't realise. Your legacy is not just what you've done in the ring. It's the fighters that you've helped, myself, Jaden, other younger fighters coming up, these people that you've inspired. I think that's a lot of your legacy outside the ring.
And you don't realise it as well often. Like you said, even hearing you say that, you know, that warms me. When I went back to Ireland there recently at Christmas time, it's when because like everyone, you just get caught up in your own shit a lot of the time, and you just feel like you're just doing your own thing. But I'm sitting down with uncles, and I'm sitting there with me dad, and I've had a bad year again. Last year I didn't fight last year. I'm just coming off the back of shoulder surgery. And there has been times I'm like, oh, why am I still doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? Put myself through all this shit, all the broken promises, all the lies, because there's so much deceit and mate, you know what the boxing industry is like, but there's so much. You know me, Kamil, long enough. I'm a straight shooter. I'm straight down the line. What you see is what you get.
There is no bullshit.
There's none of that in boxing. It's all grey area. There's no black and white. I'd rather some promoter or some manager or some advisor or someone would just be out straight and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on, instead of just, you know, all the deceit and the snake trails and everything. Yeah. So it's hard for me in that sense, being involved in an industry that goes against inherently my moral values and what I stand for as a man. But that last year, kind of towards the end, I was like, oh, what am I doing? Coming back from an injury is hard physically, it's also hard mentally. You're not able to do what you so desire and love. And sitting down, with my old man saying, you got to keep going, son. We are living through you. I'm living through you. You're my hero, son. Keep going. Your uncle saying the same thing. It's like, fuck. I'm just out here fighting, man. But You have so much effect on people that you don't even know. You know, I'm just here doing my thing. I'm just getting in. I'm just fighting my fucking heart out. I'm getting paid, then I'm moving on to the next one. But you're actually building something a lot bigger than that. You have so much influence and so much span and on people that you don't even know until you start receiving these messages. Hey, you made my life worth living again. The heart, I got to keep going now. I felt like dying after my kid died. It's like, Jesus, man, come on. That would make a glass eye cry, you know?
If that doesn't give you the motivation to go on, I don't know what will.
Nah, what will? And sometimes you just need to hear that and them little boosts as well to keep you going.
Yeah. Especially during this pandemic period, it's been difficult for a lot of fighters. A lot of fighters have lost their careers, primes of their careers, due to this pandemic. Darragh, as we come towards the final stage of the interview, I'd like to finish on a more light-hearted note.
Right.
Oh,
here we go again.
Mate, the iPad's coming out. So you're obviously someone who's never shied away from controversy. And I found a lovely Facebook comment that someone wrote on your fight.
All right.
This is your fight with Kitty and Darragh about 4 years ago. Someone wrote this, so please read it out, but don't read out the gentleman's name.
Mr. Eddie, we'll call him that. Still fighting cab drivers, Super Foley. Give it up, mate, and join the rest of your Irishman. Irishman. Jump into an excavator and move some dirt around. Right?
What do you feel with that? When you read that, what do you feel?
I don't really give a shit, mate. It's all part of the game. You have to have a thick skin in this game. If messages like that, I would have received probably thousands in the last 9 years since I started fighting. So it doesn't, like, who
swipe across one
like
and you see your response.
So the profile picture, he's there with his 3 kids, I think on their confirmation day or something. And why do you even care what I'm doing? Enjoy our family, man.
That's your response.
Okay, your efforts will be better focused towards moving some weight, you fat fuck. Right, well, there you go. If you give it, you can take it, Eddie.
So just obviously internet trolls are everywhere. The stage is yours, Darragh. Speak to the kids out there, speak to the fighters out there, speak to the people who believe in you out there. Let them know anything you want. The stage is yours.
The stage is mine. 2022 is upon us. For the bad last 2 years, but this is the last chapter of my career now. I know this dream ain't gonna last. This beautiful dream or nightmare, depending on what day you get me, it's not gonna last forever. I've only got 2, maybe 3 years left in this. So I'm just gonna go back to the beginning, like you said. That guy who had no self-preservation, that guy who just went straight in there and went to unload his clip in the first round. That's what I'm getting back to, because I want to leave a lasting legacy. I don't just want to be known as this, I guess this wild child maybe that started off and then grew a bit older and became a bit reserved, and towards the end of his career would just kind of, eke out decisions. I want to get back to that wild child and empty that clip and just put on great, fantastic fights for everyone. I'm still here, and that's key. I'm still here, perseverance. It would have been so easy for me these last 2 years just to say, hey, I'm throwing my hat in the ring, I'm done. I'm just gonna live a normal life. But that's not what I want. It's not what I've ever wanted. And I was only chatting to Ben about this recently. Like, if you read the books of any successful person out there, they say that opportunity only comes right after. It's when that door, it's so easy to give up. And if you break through that door, there's your opportunity. It's not like it comes straight away. You got to persevere. And if you stick at it, if you stick doing the right thing, being a good person, living a good life, being good to others, respecting everyone around you, respecting your craft, and giving your heart to something, eventually something has to give. You must get an opportunity. And I'm primed. I know something big is on the horizon. And once I see that door, I'm just gonna break through it, because I've already went through that last door of, come on, just live a normal life. Now I don't want that. So I'm close. Something big's on the horizon, and I'm gonna go straight through that door. I'm gonna give everything I have to leave a lasting legacy. So for years to come, people say, Darragh Foley, I remember that guy. He was some fire. He was some man. And I loved the way he'd done it authentically, with passion, with his heart, and with everything he had. And that's what I'd ideally like to be remembered as, I guess.
Well, Darragh Foley, thank you very much for being on the corner with Kamil Syed today, mate. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Kamil. I
mate.
appreciate it. Thank you.
All the best.